In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I converted my ET Epson 8550 and some things I already did, and I explained that to you in the last video. So in this video, all I'm doing is finishing up the conversion from what I started, and we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it because I want y'all to see and don't want to drag it on too long. So as you can see right here, all I'm doing is filling the empty bottles with the DTF ink. Now I already had these bottles from the previous conversion of the 15,000. And so right here, what you see is the different colors that I'm filling. I have washed and cleaned these bottles out just so I can go ahead and put the new DTF ink in them. And this was actually a pretty lengthy process, just so you guys know. But you definitely want to make sure you clear out whatever is in there before you start putting in the DTF ink. Now, as you guys know, with DTF ink, there are two whites that you will have because the DTF has 6 colors that you have to use. So you want to be mindful when you are doing the white. There are no bottles for white, so you do have to make sure you are cleaning the bottles thoroughly if you are reusing bottles. I had to actually go back in with my white and clean the bottle twice because I noticed when I filled my white up in the dark bottles, which I wasn't even thinking, I had to dump it and do it. Thank God I actually had some extra white ink to use because that actually was my saving grace when having to refill my whites. But again, you just want to make sure that you are thoroughly cleaning those bottles when you are using your white. So that is what you guys see me doing right here. And yeah, guys, this was, I'm not going to say it was a hard process. It just was tedious and long. But as you can see, I did already have like the Epson bottles. And you also do want to label your bottles DTF ink just so that you don't mix them and you remember which bottles you use for what. And with your white, I mean, even though it'll probably be noticeable, but you still want to go ahead and label your bottles to specify that you used white. Now with the 8550, you guys know that they have printer black and they have regular black. So I put my whites in the printer black bottle and I used the regular black ink for my whites. And I already had from previous bottles a black container, so I was able to use that previous bottle for just my regular black DTF ink. I put that inside the container that already had black in it. So just be mindful when you're doing that. Make sure you are labeling so that you don't forget and make a mistake. And I found myself almost making a mistake a couple times. So you just want to take your time when doing this process and just slow down. It's not a rush, because if you rush, I promise you, you will make a mistake somewhere. Even if you did this process a few times, still take your time and make sure you are thoroughly cleaning these containers. So, and as you can see right here, that is why you see me washing this bottle out again, because I again realized that there were some residue of black in these bottles when I filled that white in. And I'm actually glad I caught the mistake sooner than later, because had I not caught this mistake, I would have had some trouble and that black ink would have mixed with my white ink, making that white layer cloudy and nasty. So here are all the bottles. As you can see, they are labeled. Those are my 6 colors. And now we're going into the next step. So here, all I am doing is setting up the printer, turning it on and starting her up. Now, when I first got this printer, I didn't do everything. So that is why I'm doing it now. And this wasn't too bad. This was actually self-explanatory. So here, what you'll see me doing now is getting ready to prepare the ink to set it up. And take your time with the colors, putting them in the bottles. What I do want to stress to you guys, though, in this part with the 8550, you want to make sure that your bottles are like, you see how the colors, the cyan, the blue, and like the whites and stuff, those bottles have specific shapes. So if you don't have a bottle without the sides on it, you are going to have a hard time putting the bottles into that printer if you are not using the containers that the ink came in. So right here, what you can see, my white, I'm doing that now just because that bottle that I have did not line up with the gray. So you have to literally do gray with gray, cyan with cyan, yellow with yellow with these containers. And because I had already put my white inside of those Princeton black and the black ink, those, that gray, that black bottle that you see me using, even though it has white ink in it, but it was for black, it's not fitting inside of the gray. So I had to use a syringe to do that. And that actually is a tedious process itself. So moving on, now all I'm doing is doing a test print. So as you can see, I'm trying to prepare the paper for the print, because I am doing like the adjusted alignment and doing the test print. So I was going to go from the back rear, but I decided to just put it at the bottom. And the only reason why I changed up at first, because as you can see, I already took my tray out. I removed like that tray for the printing paper because I am going to set up my own station for printing, so that way I can get the perfect print and my ink does not smear from each other. Because with the 8550, you'll see that what's named that it comes with, it has a hump. So when you go to print, that ink will dip. So here, this is the waste tank that comes with the printer. So all I did was take the top off. I am removing the um I guess I don't want to call it tissue, but whatever they had in here stored for the ink to catch, I'm removing that, because what I'm going to do is put some paper towels in here so that way I can catch the ink myself and make more room. And I'm also going to put a liner in the waste tank so that way I can make an external tank, so I don't have a big mess when that ink is printing out, and I can reset my waste tank whenever it tells me that it's full. Because if you are in the middle of printing and you get the message that your waste tank is full, it will stop your printing in the middle, and you will have to take the time to reset it or replace it and then go back to printing. So all you see me doing right here is using one of the cords to insert into the waste tank, so that way that ink can spill into my cord or tube, whatever you want to call it. But you can get these on Amazon, and I will leave all the links below in the description box, so that way if you guys need some, you can go to the Amazon store to get them yourself. And they are pretty reasonable price, and they do have a few sizes. So you can go ahead and check that out. I do recommend that you do this step, because it will just save you time in the long run, and it will help you out so much. When I tell you, like, this part right here is a godsend, it's a godsend. But you do want to be careful, like, you don't want your ink to spill over, because if your ink ends up spilling over, you're going to have a mess with inside the printer. And here, all I'm doing is drilling a hole in that water bottle, so that way I can put the tube through it. I did see some girl put tape around hers. I guess she said that that helps and make it better. I haven't done that, but I may need to try that. But she did use painter's tape. So see, as you can see, your own little external waste tank bottle. Now here, all I did was register the printer. download the drivers and utilities combo package. Now with this, you do not want to do the updates, because if you do the update, you will mess up the whole DTF printing experience. Now here, all I'm doing is building that tray that I told you guys about for my printing station, so that way I can have a flat surface. I did get this, and this is actually this is not glass. This is actually I'm having a brain fart, y'all. But this plexiglass, that's what this is. This is actually plexiglass that I'm using. So I'm gluing them together. I did need to extend it because half of that plexiglass is going to go inside the printer. So you do want your tray to be long enough where the paper comes out and it does not fall. So you guys will see me do that here. And once I set this up, you do just want to level your tray before you go ahead and build the surface, because if you start to build it without measuring it, it may be too high or too low. So just be careful when you are, I guess, building your tray, and you can do it however you want it. This was just a little DIY for myself,
I
and I
know.
didn't want to spend too much money, but the Home Depot didn't have like the little cubes that I needed. So all I did was took some of my kids' Jenga blocks and put them together, and that was the way I created my DIY printing tray. And as you can see, my little son is in this scene with me because he decided to come downstairs. So that is his little feet that you guys see, and you will see him more in the video when he gets more into the camera. But this right here was a little fun experience for me because I am not a builder at all, but this was fun. I couldn't lie. And all I did was build 4 blocks,
Look,
um,
don't come down here
2 in the
correcting me.
middle of
Please.
the tray, and then I put 2 at the end. I did have to wait for this glue to dry, as you guys will see, because at first I didn't think that this glue was going to dry because it was so slippery as I was putting the things together, and I was kind of getting frustrated for a second because I did not think that this was going to hold, and I thought I was doing this all for nothing. But what I was using was Gorilla Glue, plexiglass, and some Jenga blocks to build this, and it was inexpensive, so it did save me some coins in the long run. And I spiced it up a little bit and changed the colors. So as you can see, I
Brown,
have
come
tan
in.
and I have burgundy. And it does look like I'm concentrating pretty hard, which I was, because again, I am not a crafter, but I did want to get this done. And I was regretting the fact that I already took the tray out, because I seen where people didn't take the tray out and they literally just stacked something on top of their tray. So I was starting to regret this at the moment, but it actually turned out better than I thought. So I was happy and I was glad. And you guys will see in a moment how this turned out. And I'll show you how high you need to place this when you line up your tray. So here, as you can see, the work is finished. Again, I did have to wait for this to dry. So I got up super early this morning to finish it out, because I waited at least like, some hours, like overnight, to let this dry. And plus, my son wasn't feeling so good. So I did have to attend to him and get him together and ready for bed. So here is where you see where you want to line it up. Where you see my finger is pointing is where you want your tray to stop. So you want to stop it right in front of the rollers, so that when it does come out, you will have a perfect print and no ink will dip and, smear. So this was the project. I loved it. This was the ending of it. And this is the end of this video. I hope you guys loved it, and thank you for watching. Bye, guys.